We've had to turn away parents that are crying and saying, I see this is a chance for my kid to make something in their life, to learn English and to learn about God.
They're actually starting a 4-year journey of learning about God, and that's what makes the difference.
It's rewarding when you know that you've taught them something that no one else has.
When I went back to the States, I spoke with the wife and family and said, you know, I'd really like to give this a try and put the Lord to the test, basically.
The brothers from the church, or the people in the church, were very excited to do something. So immediately they formed a little organization.
They've been looking for land, and they found this land that had some farms already on it and available at a really cheap rate. They wanted to target primarily the poor kids, be as an outreach, not just for Adventist kids, but as an outreach to the rest of the region.
Dear Jesus, thank you for my class. Thank you for my father, and my mother. Thank you for thank you. Amen.
About 4 years ago, the way we started is about 4 years ago, I came on a short-term mission trip. My background's electrical engineering, and I worked with companies in the U.S. and took 3 weeks off, and we came here, and it was about 15 of us that came, and we started digging the footings for this building. So we just had some shovels and whatnot and started digging. We poured the foundation, and nothing else was here. And the Lord moved upon my heart, and talking with David Gates and whatnot, he wanted someone to lead this thing. So on the way home, I stopped in Trinidad and called my wife and said, I think I'm going to come out of corporate America and go into the mission field. And about 6-7 months later, we sold the houses and cars and whatnot, and packed up everything and came here.
We arrived here in November 1999, and the school officially started January 2000, the following year. In secondary schools, you normally are building upon something else that someone else has already laid the foundation for. It's rewarding because I get to see that same light bulb go on, because I'm introducing something to an older set of children that they've never seen before. Evolve. Evolve.
We got here in January. We accepted our first kids the very 1st of March, and now we have 25 kids. We wanted to do that for several reasons, just that volunteers from the U.S. and from different countries could come and spend a school year here and correspond to their school year and help run the school, because it's basically going to be run by volunteers and student missionaries.
The truth is, education perhaps isn't valued here like it is in other places. It's incredible to see that so many of our students come to find out we're actually supposed to be finishing high school this year. And just because they wanted to be in our school, they've started all the 4 years over again. The backgrounds of these kids are not good ones. And since they've been in our school, we've already had 3 baptized, and so many other of them that are making huge changes in their life. Their families come to visit every Sunday, and they say these are not the same kids. So much so that everyone wants to send their kids here. We have people knocking on the doors, and we don't have any more space. We don't have any more beds. We don't have any more tables. And parents have said, I will bring my own table. I'll bring my own bed, my own desk, my own chair. Can you please take my child? And we have to say, I'm sorry, also, we don't have enough teachers. You know, there's only so much you can do.
This school is what's deemed a CXC school. They have an exam which I guess is almost equivalent to our SAT exam. What it does is teach the basic courses just as we do in the United States. English, math, social studies, integrated sciences, and other subjects.
So 2x is equal to 10. What? X is equal to 5. I work on the projects. I teach Bible and mathematics. I deal with the administrative issues. It's a multifaceted thing, and we need to work side by side with the students. We learn about their personalities. They tend to respect us more as we work side by side. The motto is we won't ask them to do anything we won't do, and it seems to work. So it's not purely academics. A part of our curriculum is vocational, so they learn hands-on. You may hear the chainsaw in the background. Well, that's one of our girls, a 15-year-old, who's operating a chainsaw. She's interested in construction and mechanics and whatnot. So 2 hours out of each day, the kids are actually involved in hands-on physical labor. We teach them construction. The kids plastered the school building. They help pour the floor. They poured the sidewalk. They painted the building. And our job as instructors is to help them learn how to do these things. So we read the textbooks, and we'll give them the theory, and we all learn together how to do it. And that's part of their education, and we call it well-rounded education.
If you're depending on yourself, on your salary, on your work, it's easy to think, I provide for myself. God says, I will provide for you. And then you come face to face with the realization, do I trust that? And maybe you've never before seen how it comes through for you, but this time you do. Overall, we buy about 50 pounds of flour every 2 weeks, and about 100 pounds of beans once a month, and we buy 4 tanks of propane gas a month, and all of that's $200 a month for everybody.
We had gotten to the point whereas it just did not rain for months and months and months. The students started teasing me saying, you're going to have to drink some river water, you're going to have to drink the river water, and I said, nope. I'm going to pray to the Lord, and He's going to send the rainwater for us. And we got up the next day, looked in the sky, there was not a cloud in the sky. And one of the students said, well, miss, there's no water left in the tank at all. I said, yep, I prayed this morning, God heard it, He's going to send some rain. There was no cloud. It was amazing. We were doing English class, and out of the blue, you just heard the rain coming over the trees. It stopped and then did not rain for the next month or so until, again, we were out of water.
I just love this type of work because I love seeing every day how God provides for your needs. You don't have to go and ask people, for your needs. You just get on your knees and pray, and God will provide. And that's the type of work that I love.
I don't think that there is anything that we specifically prayed for. These are not just your general prayers, Lord, supply all my needs, thank you, amen, forgive me my sins, and thank you for dying for us prayers. These are prayers that say, Lord, we have no money, and this is what we need. We're going to depend on you. Lord, we need a girls' dorm, and it's going to cost us $8,000. It has to happen, or we will not be able to have school come September. And sure enough, He did it. Not only did He supply the money, He actually had our entire girls' dorm built in less than 30 days. And that is from the ground up.
The most valuable person is one who's really committed to the Lord and committed to education in this sort of environment. And I found that there's not anything we can't learn to do. I never would have thought, you know, my wife and I would be plastering walls and laying concrete and putting up trusses, you know, all these sorts of things. You can learn it easily. The commitment is the issue.
When you say, God, you promised this, He does it. And so if God's calling you to be a volunteer and to go somewhere, you've got to do it. In fact, if you only go where there's places where there's paid positions, then the gospel's not be taken to all the world, because the majority of the places where the gospel is not at, there's not paid positions. If people aren't willing to go as volunteers and trust God, we're not going to be able to take the gospel to all the world.
What you just saw was an example of several schools. You only looked at 2 of them. 2 secondary schools, one in Guyana and one in Bolivia, where volunteers are making a difference. We have several schools. Some of them are primary, or have both primary and secondary, some industrial, and some are Bible worker instructor schools, where adults and young adults can go out to teach others from what they have learned. The bottom line to making these schools possible is volunteerism. Jesus was a volunteer. He received no salary. The disciples didn't either. And there is a place for you in God's work as a teacher, using your skills. You don't have to be certified as a teacher, but you have to be willing to go. Any skill you have can be used to share with somebody else. All over the world are opportunities. The resources do not have to be in place. The willingness has to be in place. Are you willing to be a volunteer? God will provide for your needs. He will ensure success if you're willing to go. But you might ask, how can I be a volunteer? Make yourself available. Communicate with somebody, and then go. Call the General Conference. Send in your forms. Call your local university and say, I want to be a volunteer. Contact the projects directly, or if you want to, contact the address that will show up on your screen. We would be happy to make a place for you to serve in God's work. But go and let Jesus, when He comes, pat you on the back and say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. I want to hear those words, and I invite you too to be part of that homecoming someday with those that you have taught. May God bless you.
Deep in the heart of South America, just outside the city limits of Santa Cruz, Bolivia, 50 kids are eagerly participating in Sabbath school each week. From close-up shots, you would think this is just like any other Sabbath school class held in the remote areas of third world countries. Smiling faces of boys and girls happily singing songs about Jesus from underneath the tin roof canopy. They listen with wide-eyed wonder to the missionary telling stories from the Bible, enhanced by some donated flannels and a homemade felt board. But this is not your typical jungle Sabbath school. These children are worshiping inside the confines of tall, thick cement walls topped with barbed wire. This is their home. They are living with their mothers in a women's prison. 1 year ago, Claudia, an active member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, was falsely accused of a crime and without a trial was put in prison to serve a 5-year sentence. In spite of her sad situation, Claudia bloomed where she was planted and began a weekly Sabbath school class for the children. In addition, she gives Bible studies to several of the mothers. 7 years ago, volunteer missionary Jenny Mendoza began ministering to the women here in the prison. During this time, she and her friends, Nancy and Heidi, have been instrumental in getting many women released and have witnessed several baptisms and watched numerous lives being changed by the work of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
In February of this year, my family and I moved here to Santa Cruz to be volunteer missionaries at the new Spanish TV station, Red Adventist. When we heard about the work being done at the prison, we decided to check it out. The first time was a little scary, having all of our things searched, going through 2 checkpoints and being questioned by soldiers, and then being locked inside the prison walls. But when we saw how happy the kids were to have us there, we knew we'd be coming back. We don't speak much Spanish yet, so we help out by playing our guitars, helping the kids with the crafts, and handling the puppets. Katie and Richard Carrera, also doing volunteer missionary work with Red Adventist, are working with us. Katie speaks fluent Spanish, so she does most of the talking. When Sabbath school is over, we attend church services with about 10 inmates and their families, and often play for special music. A few weeks ago, I met a new friend visiting from the United States, and asked her to come with us. Listen to what she has to say.
I've been to the jail twice now, and I've had the time of my life. I never really had been into that jail ministry, but then I met Devin and TJ, and they told me about how much fun it was to help the little kids, so I decided to check it out. What a good choice that was. I had never been so happy or blessed. Seeing all those happy little kids laughing just made me feel so warm inside. But the first week I was there, we only had enough craft supplies for about half of the kids. Our supplies ran out. I think they have more kids coming every week. This was a wonderful experience for me, and I would help these children and missionaries as long as I could if the opportunity presented itself.
Our first week here, we told we'd have about 15 kids. We had 18. In the second week, we had 25. Then 30, then 45, and this last week we had almost 70. Each time we come, we bring more craft materials, but we never have enough. With so many kids, we don't have enough helpers, and it's always crazy. We have 2 classes, kindergarten and primary. Kindergarten meets on the blankets on the lawn. The primary class meets in a picnic pavilion. It is almost always windy, so it makes it hard to do the crafts. On the days it rains, we can't even have class.
Once the program is running smoothly, we want to get support from the local churches and organize teams or leaders so the kids can have class every week. We also would like to have a building in which to meet, so even on rainy days, the kids can count on having Sabbath school. We also want to hold a vacation Bible school. Since there are about 150 kids living in the prison, this will be a major project. We believe God is leading this ministry, and we are going forward with our plans, even though we don't know how we can fund this project. God has promised in His Word, John 16:23, that whatever we ask the Father in His name, He will give it to us. We are asking that our needs be met and are claiming His promise.
I like going to the prison on Sabbath and handing out crafts and stuff. I thought we were going to have to teach in cells where there's going to be people yelling at us from the cells. Instead, we taught under a tin roof. It's not the best thing in the world to teach under, but for what I was thinking before I got there, that's cool. Before I go back to the States, I want to get some people to go to the prison while we are gone. I want the children's ministry to keep going on and on.
I really like going to the prison and spending time with all the kids there. Seeing them was a culture shock to me. Most of them are dirty and a lot of rashes. Snotty nose are very common. It's fun practicing my Spanish while helping the kids do the crafts. We really need more people to help here. I hope we're making a difference in their lives. I do know that they enjoy coming, and I am happy that we have a way of showing them that somebody loves them. Working with the kids at the prison is an awesome experience I will never forget, and to think that I might be neighbors with some of these kids when I get to heaven makes me feel great.
My Father's grace, I know is never ending. My cup is never empty. He fills it day by day. And there are times I may be feeling helpless, confused and often restless. I wanna run away, from this heart that's always doubting. Run from this heart that's full of fear. Run, Lord, to fall upon your saving grace. Your saving grace upon my face. Move and have our being, receiving daily blessings of which we don't deserve. At times I think, oh, how love can conquer the sin this world is under. It makes me wanna run. Run to the heart that never changes. Run to the arms that are always near. Run, and Lord, to fall upon your saving grace. Your saving grace upon run to the heart that never changes. Run to the arms that are always near. Run, Lord, to fall upon your saving grace. Your saving grace upon my face.
Have you ever visited a prison? Have you ever been a prisoner or lost your liberty? I have. I was hijacked, blindfolded, and handcuffed some years ago and experienced firsthand the helplessness of being a prisoner. I've also been beaten, assaulted by gangs, and only through God's mercy am here today. The video you just saw is about people who are helpless. Children, women, and adults who've lost their liberty and who are in need of help. Jesus himself ordered us to become involved with those that have lost liberty because he is coming and he is intending that everybody be restored back to their liberty. The volunteers that are involved in his prison ministry have been changed forever, their lives, as well as those that they serve. And my invitation to you is, why not become involved? Why not participate in some kind of ministry in your neighborhood, in your city? Why not support those that are doing it? God has a place for you, and I invite you to experience the joy of service. May God bless you.
What is this? A plane. Do you know who made this? People made it. Do you know why? Because they were going to be needing it, and they made it for a purpose. That plane is dedicated to doing missionary work, to spread the gospel. So when you see that plane, you will know that people made it for a purpose.
People are afraid of aviation. They're afraid of the risk. It's a big expense, and it is a risk.
You need to be well trained. A good set of nerves is very handy because there's no room for error. If you don't do it right, you don't get to try again.
If it weren't for the airplanes, most of this work couldn't happen. Or it would take months to do what we can do in minutes.
There's just certain places you don't want to touch down. You have to wait and let some of the strip go under you before you touch down because there's pretty bad humps there. It doesn't leave a whole lot to stop. You always have to be exact every time, no matter what the winds do to you. It's just over 900 feet long. We'll have tailwind going into that little strip if we get any wind at all, and we don't really need tailwind going into that strip.
A lot of the approaches aren't very good. A lot of people just do not want to fly that type of flying because they think it's too high risk. It is higher risk than normal people flying in the States. With proper training and having the proper capabilities to start with, we can keep risk down to a minimum.
Yeah, very close. I almost hit one. Dog was on the runway on a little short strip. Come on, dog, get out of the way. No. You know, that would slow you down quite a bit, and that was tight enough as it was. Notice 2/3 down the runway, it didn't have any airspeed indicator, and it's too late to stop. And it just barely missed it. Just barely.
Flying for me is just really what I enjoy doing. Ever since I was small, that's what I love to do. I just enjoy the challenge of it, especially here on some of the smaller strips, different weather conditions. I enjoy the scenery, just the whole exhilarating feeling of flying. But I ultimately enjoy what we can accomplish with the flying here, and that's spreading God's word to people that don't know. We're just fueling up here on the village of Parima. Our only source of fuel is 200 miles away from here in Georgetown. So we have to haul all the fuel in here that we use. And we try to use it sparingly, but it's also very necessary when we have medical calls or any bad weather. We have to add a little extra fuel here. Let's see if we can find what's giving us problems. We came down here to the end of the runway to get ready for takeoff, and during our magneto check discovered that we're running really rough on the right magneto. So we're going to take the cowling off here and have a look around, make sure it's not the magneto. If it's not, we'll check the spark plugs. And there's probably just something stuck in one of the spark plugs. Get that cleaned out and then we'll be on our way again. I got it.
our problem right here. You can see a little bit of lead deposit has built up between our spark plug here, and it's not allowing it to spark, so that's why our engine was running rough. So we'll clean that up and put it back, and our engine will run fine again, hopefully. It's good to go. Just put the cowling back on, and we're ready. My father actually discouraged me a little bit from doing mission aviation only because there's so few positions around the world. And he's the one that encouraged me to diversify my skills. Say 5 feet longer than the antenna. I went to Southern Adventist University and took nursing. I got my BSN, and I was already a pilot at that point, so I was just getting some experience and doing my aircraft maintenance training as well. It's exciting work. I came here straight out of college, hardly a cent in my pocket, and I'm still here. I got married almost 2 years ago now. So really, any skills that you can get before coming down, you aren't just a pilot here. You do so many different things. Nursing, fixing the plane, dealing with people, commissions, fixing anything and everything, and just generally you get involved in virtually so many things that whatever skill you can come with, whatever background knowledge you have, is a tremendous asset to the program. That's good for now. You can tie it right there, and then we'll pull it tight from that side. Alright, Brother Angus, come here and I'll show you how to use this. And this red one here, always straight up at 12 o'clock position. So, like, if it changes, see, it sounds very different. What church do you attend? Yes. No church? Alright. Do you have a Bible? Yes. You read it sometimes? Alright. Tell you what, since you're doing this favor for me, let me give you one of these books. It's a nice little book that you can read maybe when you're waiting for your patients to get well or so. You work there as well? One for you. So I'm leaving this box of Bibles. You could give it to Brother Roy. You all have Bibles? You each have one? You'd like to have one? Let me give you one so you can keep that by you. Yes. Got one as well? Very good. Only if you promise to read it. All right.
Some mornings I go out to have just one flight, and it's almost dark by the time I get back because emergencies just keep popping up. And so by the time I get back with one, I have one or two more waiting, and it goes on all day long. It happens very regularly. We have two this morning instead of one. We have someone else that got very sick, very high fever, about midnight last night. And so we'll be taking the mother, the baby, and one other out. So it's good we decided we'd come right on fuel. Vamos subiendo. There's been a lot of times picking patients up off of little short strips. The day's hot, the wind's not right, but you know if you don't go, they aren't going to make it. And so when you know God's going to help you and He wants you to go, you go ahead and go. And He puts his angels there to help pick the plane up. It's not that we fly without fear, it's just that you fly in God's hands and you know whatever He asks you to do, He'll give you strength and ability to do. The sickness doesn't stop, the accidents don't stop, and there's no roads passable into most of these villages. And so there's no way to get the people out. If they can't walk out on their own, either they get well or they don't. There's no other option. We have maintenance coming up again on the plane in less than 10 hours. And it's hard to stop because when we go, you can't fly for a week or two. When we come back, they tell us about all the emergencies that they needed help for and there was no one to go. And I just soon not know because it makes it really hard.
I started flying here when I was 23 years old. I'm now 26 years old. And it's very interesting to talk with people, communicate with people on email. And when you first meet them, they assume you're 40 years old or something. You know, they think you should be much older. I get many surprised people here that think, wow, you're so young, and you're already doing this. But for young people, I would say, take every opportunity you have now, preparing to do this work. And if you have any goals that you're trying to reach, don't wait till you're done with college, don't wait till you're done with high school. If you're in grade school, start working towards that goal right now. Ultimately, don't let people discourage you because of your age. Regardless of how young you are, it's not too young to start reaching your goals and serving the Lord.
This is what I do for recreation, de-stress. You climb the mountain and then you have a nice, relaxful flight back down. Nothing's crossed, everything looks good. With wind like this, we'll inflate. Once we get it under control, then we'll turn around and head down the mountain with it. Okay.
You just saw a video of 2 of our mission aviation programs. Pilots who dedicated their life to serving the Lord in different types of capacities, not trying to look for a job, but trying to do a job. Currently with 8 aircraft and only 3 pilots, each of which is flying about 1,000 hours a year, God's work is needing pilots. Pilots who are willing to work with some unknown variables. Not part-time pilots, but full-time pilots, dedicated to serving the Lord, doing medical work, evangelism, willing to live simply, not knowing where tomorrow's operating budget or food is going to come from. With helicopters going into Norway and the Philippines, and God's use of technology with aircraft, God is preparing pilots today. Pilot nurses, pilot physicians, pastor pilots, pilot mechanics. Maybe you're one of them. To be able to do in these last few months of Earth's history what others have not been willing to do. Jesus is coming back soon, and He needs your skills.
Red Advenir Internacional.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hola amigos, es un placer saludarles. Mi nombre es Remberto Parada y estoy aquí para compartir con ustedes.
Adventist Spanish television network went on the air in October 2002 and since then has grown into a satellite network with programming 24 hours a day that reaches every Spanish-speaking country in the world. It all started with a dream to reach the people in the cities. 2.5 years ago, volunteer missionary David Gates stepped out in faith and purchased a television network consisting of 6 television broadcast stations located in the 6 major cities of Bolivia. $200,000 was paid on account, but as further funds were not forthcoming, the owners of the network agreed to accept a check for $1.4 million and wait to cash it until the funds were available. In November of last year, not having made any significant progress towards paying off this debt, David met with the owners who told him that the debt must be paid off by December 31, 2003, or they were going to have to take possession of the network. On December 30, 2003, only 24 hours before the deadline, God provided the $1.4 million plus interest needed to pay the entire amount of the debt, proving that He is an almighty God who does answer prayer.
Red Advenir presenta Fuente de Agua Viva.
Currently, Adventist is the Seventh-day Adventist Church's only full-time Spanish television network. Located in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, Adventist has grown to include television and cable networks throughout Latin America. The country of Bolivia is home to over 8 million people, 70% of which are Roman Catholic who generally appreciate Adventist's reverent programming. Jenny Mendoza, a converted professional musician and prison ministry volunteer, believed God wanted to reach the masses through media, and by stepping out in faith, co-signed the purchase agreement for the station with David. She currently works as the Director of Programming. Pastor Ramberto Parada, the director of the network, came to work at Adventist after working 31 years as a pastor and church administrator in the South American division. His international experience has proved a valuable asset in bringing together the staff and volunteers from a wide variety of backgrounds and focusing them on a common mission. Our local staff work together with overseas volunteers to keep the station on the air 24 hours a day. Two individuals who have come as volunteers to be a part of the network are Scott Grady, who brings over 20 years of television production experience, and Richard Carrera, who used to work as a draftsman and engineer.
Well, I've been doing video production for about 23 years now, ever since I graduated from college. I spent the last 10 years at 3ABN as a director, doing video production there, directing programs in the studio, directing programs on the road. The decision to come here actually was not a very hard one to make, and I say that because when the call came was a direct answer to prayer. The station down here had been on my mind for quite a bit, and I one day was just thinking about it a lot, and I said a prayer and I said, God, if you want us to come, you're going to have to open the doors and make it obvious. And 2 hours later I got a call from David, and he said, we want you to come. We have funding for your travels and to help get you going down there for a few weeks, and will you go? So, how much more obvious do you need?
Adventist is it's a small station, and I'm going to love it, and I can see that it is growing into something really huge, and I'm very privileged to be a part of it in its growing stages, in that there are so many lives we can touch with this network, and there's so much I can learn and do for Christ here. I can use all my skills, building skills, mechanical skills, drafting skills, and also graphics and editing. There's so many things I can do. It gives me the opportunity to do for Christ here and reach so many people. I always had a desire to be a missionary. Whatever way, I don't know. I'm not a preacher, and I couldn't see myself fitting into mission work, and that's why I had been praying about it. But when David told me that there's a job down here for me, technical work, doing graphics, editing, this is more of what I like, and so I decided, let's go for it, have faith, and God is going to provide the money for us to go, and this is just a great opportunity that I have to do God's will.
Las 24 horas, Red Advenir Internacional.
Because the network operates under David Gates' philosophy of God providing for the needs of the volunteers, there are no fundraising campaigns on the air, there are no donor lists or mailing lists specific to fundraising, nor any public relations or marketing department. Through this philosophy, the network has grown to include 17 stations in Bolivia, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, and Argentina, and more than 100 cable networks throughout the Americas. Additionally, the network airs on DirecTV for Latin America 4 hours every night. In less than 2 years on the air, God has placed the network in the homes of more than 100 million people.
Nuevo estilo de vida.
¿Qué tal, queridos jóvenes? Les damos la bienvenida a nuestro programa nuevo.
Some of the programs that we do here locally are nature videos, nature scenery with music. We do a youth preaching program where different youth from the church come in here and preach, do sermons. It's quite interesting. We record music here for different programs. We have produced some children's programs, but children's programs are very difficult to produce, so we haven't done too many of those.
¡Qué maravilla!
es estar otra vez con ustedes en su programa.
The viewers seem to like the nature programs the best, and I was told here in Santa Cruz that there's a psychologist who prescribes watching our station to his patients to calm them down, I guess. So they like that, and we produced 12 new cooking programs, and as soon as it went on the air, it was like our #1 watched program as soon as it went on the air. So we plan on doing more of those.
El tema que les tengo preparado para...
From the emails that we get, we can tell that we're reaching a lot of people in a lot of faraway places. The network is making a difference in people's lives, and that's what we're here to do.
Here at Adventist, we've been working with home quality equipment, doing a lot with a very little. Few would believe what we're doing with what we have. Recently, we made a decision that we needed some better equipment. There was no resources. But we have learned that whenever you step forward and move forward in faith in order to reach people, something always happens. Heaven moves. We ordered a camera. We ordered better transmitters. We've signed the contracts, and we're going forward. And at the time of this filming, we don't know what God is going to do and how He's going to solve it. But you can be sure that God always fulfills His word to meet our needs.
The equipment that we're using is by no means what we should be using, and it really is not adequate for what we're doing. I mean, we could do so much more with the proper equipment. The lighting that we're using here, even in the studio right now, is not what we should be using. It's fluorescent lighting, and it's not made for television fluorescent lighting, it's made at home fluorescent lighting, which it's actually been a benefit here to us because the studio is not air conditioned, and in the summertime it would get mighty hot in here with with proper studio lighting.
When times get rough financially, feedback from viewers keeps the staff encouraged. For example, as Jenny, the director of programming, was praying with a Catholic female inmate, a Catholic nun ran into the cell interrupting the prayer and forced Jenny to leave. However, when the nun discovered that Jenny worked for Adventist, she apologized and invited her home for supper, stating that Adventist was her favorite television station.
There are other needs that the station has. The station has needs every month. Things pop up, like this month we're having to build a tower out here to put our antenna on because the tower that our antenna is currently on is rusting away, so they're having to take it down. You know, it's strange that every month we have these big unexpected things come up, but every month they get paid for. You know, we don't really have an explanation as to how they get paid for. We don't ask for money, we don't send out mailings asking for money. So it's just, you know, people's generous donations that keep us going. You know, every day I'm here at 8 o'clock. Just because I like it and I believe in what we're doing here and I want to be a part of it. Oddly enough, when I was getting paid and working back home and my wife was working back home and getting paid, we had many worries about, you know, if our money was going to last through the month or not, or how we were going to make it. And here we don't worry about that at all. It's not a conscious decision not to worry about it, we just don't. That's the strangest thing for us.
The mission of Adventist is in its name, which means He is coming. Cutting across denominational barriers, God has provided Adventist with the technology necessary to reach the Hispanic world and prepare them for His imminent return.
Él espera nuestra decisión de entregarnos a Él y conocerlo más.
You've heard the miraculous story of this Spanish television network called Adventist. He is Coming Network. What does that mean? It means we have a conviction that Jesus is coming back very soon and we have a short time to reach the world. God invented technology. He owns technology. It is through the use of technology that the masses can be reached. 100 million people every year added to the world's population cannot be reached by knocking on doors. Technology leverages the ability to reach people. Adventist was developed with that principle, a world vision of doing something, not because we had anything, no money, Just a vision and a trust in God. Technology today is leveraging radio, television, internet, airplanes, leveraging the ability to reach people in a short amount of time. We at Advenir are using this opportunity to show you what God can do with a little. And we not only have a vision for the Hispanic world, we are opening in a few months a new network for Romania to cover all of Europe, in Grenada, in Caribbean English, and we're going on the air in Brazil with our first station, a $1 million station to reach 18 million people. It doesn't stop there. We're already negotiating with the Chinese government to be able to open a Chinese network all over China on a government satellite. When China opens up, we will be there. The entire Arabic world is soon to hear the message. Within 12 months, we expect to have a 24-hour Arabic television network. How that will happen? Don't ask me, but I can tell you what will be part of it. Moving forward without any answers, just moving forward through obedience. Every time we do that, all of heaven places its resources at our disposal. You are part of that vision. You have been blessed. You have been given a part in reaching the world. Will you be found faithful?
Cristo viene, esto es cierto. Cristo viene, porque lo ha dejado escrito. En su palabra santa lo ha dicho. Cristo viene pronto, Cristo viene.